I've never seen a police chief rock so hard. This video is from a Leon Valley, Texas City Council meeting where a city manager contract for Police Chief Joe Salvaggio was rescinded, despite his protest. The police are the fourth branch of government and they act as if they are accountable to no one. The law does not matter to many police. They just do whatever they feel like doing. In this instance, Salvaggio continued with dirty tactics in an attempt to force himself as dictator of Leon Valley, Texas. I'm publishing an important video about Salvaggio tomorrow, but I couldn't fit in all of the great footage from this December 3rd, 2020 meeting. This is what real change looks like. Please tune in Monday afternoon at 4 p.m. Central to find out if Joe Salvaggio is still a cop.
On 9.1, regarding the interim city manager agreement and consultation with attorney.
Yes.
Mr. Bradshaw.
I'd like to make a motion that we rescind the City Council's previous approval of the contract of Joseph Salvaggio as interim city manager.
I second.
All right. All right. We have a motion by Councilor Bradshaw and a second by Councilor Orozco to rescind the approval of the former City Council's agreement on the interim city manager contract of Mr. Salvaggio. Mr. Zek, I had a question, more discussion here. What is the effect of this vote?
So if City Council approves this motion, the agreement itself doesn't take effect until it's executed by both parties. The agreement requires, it says it's effective upon City Council approval and execution of the agreement between the city and Mr. Salvaggio. The mayor has not yet executed the agreement, so it's not in effect yet. So if City Council votes to rescind the previous approval, the mayor would no longer have the authority to execute the agreement. Mr. Salvaggio, well, technically, Mr. Salvaggio has never had the authority of interim city manager because the agreement hadn't been executed, but he would continue in his role as chief of police. And of course, the current city manager would continue in her role as city manager until the date of her resignation.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Now, I wanted to hear from the, if there's any citizens that wanted to speak on this before we take our vote. And then, yes, Mr. Boland and Mr. Salvaggio wants to speak as well. Yes, sir.
Yes, Mayor Council, Evan Bull, Forest Oaks, Kennerfield. So you're simply rescinding the current agreement as is, but has there been any a backup agreement that is being put forth in its place, or is just simply rescinding the agreement that was previously discussed and agreed upon and voted on, and we're just going to deal without a city manager until someone decides they want to apply for the job that apparently doesn't exist?
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir. Mr. Pulliam.
Pardon, sir, give me 1 second.
Hello, Justin Pulliam. I'd like to thank you, Mayor Riley, for standing strong for the people for the past month or so. What happened on the eve of election and even election night was shocking. I'd like to thank the city council members as well. You all have a substantial amount of support behind you. Thank you.
Mr. Salvaggio, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Charlie? Mr. Zeka?
Oh, yes, sorry.
Just a question for you. In our charter, it allows the mayor or the mayor pro tem to sign documents. The night of the vote, the mayor pro tem signed the document, so I'm not really sure what we're talking about because it has been signed and executed by the mayor pro tem.
I don't have it. I asked for a copy of the agreement, and I don't have an executed copy that was signed by a mayor pro tem, and neither do I think the city charter authorizes the mayor pro tem to execute the agreement.
Well, before y'all take a vote, I think you might want to check, because it does specifically allow the mayor or the mayor pro tem to sign documents, and we've had the mayor pro tem do it in the past for other documents.
Right, but I don't think that it does. I don't think that it does that.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Any other questions?
It says, what it says is that the mayor pro tem shall act as mayor during the absence or disability of the mayor, and when acting as mayor retains their right to vote as a council member. I don't see where they get to otherwise act as the mayor in any other capacity other than that.
So I'd ask y'all to take a close look at the charter before you vote and violate the contract, because there could be further ramifications.
They're not voiding the contract. Let's be clear. Mm-hmm. They're simply voting to rescind their approval of the agreement and revoking the mayor's authority to execute it.
Do what you think is best.
Okay. All right. Yes, Councilor Bradshaw.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I would just like to say the whole thing with the interim city manager contract, like I brought up before, there's questions about the legality of whether there was a quorum present or not, which could be challenged, that it was pushed through the eve of the election by council members, which all lost their seats, that it was very one-sided and changed back and forth to favor one party is part of the reason why it was just a totally unfair contract, which is the reason to me for us to rescind this approval. And I think that's what the citizens overwhelmingly voted for. I know there was discussion of having continuity and keeping things the same, and that's why we need to keep the same, but the citizens rejected that. The citizens wholeheartedly came out 2-1 and said, we don't want the same, we want change, we want something new, a city that works for the citizens, and that's what I'm standing on. Thank you.
Okay, and I will just add that, and I think I've already said it, but I'll just repeat, and it's pretty late, but I had requested before the November 2nd agenda item that this be delayed because of the election. I thought one day. Now, it was different in February when there was 3 months and the council approved the contract, and then Ms. Kinsler, ended up staying on. This was different. This was the day before the election, and I thought, it should be left up to the citizens. And if they had won, this contract, would have been, but they didn't. And so, just trying to look at it in a fairness way, and I think that the citizens did speak on this one. So, all right, yes, Councilor Stevens.
And I, kind of along what Councilor Bradshaw said, the citizens, I know some people say it wasn't a good sample size or whatever, but the citizens voted on next door a while back. There's over like 400 votes. 85% of citizens said they did not want this appointment of Mr. Salvaggio as our interim city manager. And so I take that seriously. The other thing is these contracts, and it's not just Mr. Salvaggio's, it's all the contracts that have been recently executed with city managers are one-sided. They don't say the city manager will give this to the city and then get compensated for it in return. They just say the city manager will get this, they'll get this, and we'll give them this, and we'll give them this, and we'll give them that also. But they don't have any obligations that they have to fulfill in order to get that. And that's my biggest problem. So that needs to be changed. Overall, and I think, it's quite obvious, this should have never been agreed to in the first place. A council that's outgoing, like they're on their way out the door. Maybe they didn't know that for sure. on the night of, but it sure seems a little suspicious. And you know, though it's kind of overused these days, maybe less now, it reeks of quid pro quo. It reeks of, you helped us do this, and so we're going to give you this. And I don't like that. That's what seems like corruption to me, and that's what I ran against. And I think the citizens of Leon Valley want a city manager that's actually going to work for them, that's going to, you know, be the best for them and not go along with the politics and the, you know, bickering back and forth and stuff of the past. So with that being said, I feel like I'm acting as if, you know, this vote that we're about to take is it's in the best interest of the overwhelming majority of the citizens of Leon Valley. I know there will be a couple people unhappy, but hopefully you can help, even those that are unhappy, can help us find, you know, an adequate replacement that you would approve and going forward. So.
Okay. Yes, Councilor Roscoe.
Thank you, Mayor. I have the employment agreement that was done on November 2nd, and they went into executive session and they made changes, and they did not let the people of Leon Valley know what the changes were, and they voted on it. And that's why I'm against it, because nobody was told what was changed. Mayor, I think we're done. We've got a motion on the floor. I'd like to vote.
Okay. Ms. Pusley, I'll ask her to call the roll, please. Thank you.
Councilor Stevens?
Yes.
Councilor Orozco?
Yes.
And Councilor Bradshaw?
Yes.
Okay. The motion passes 3 ayes and no nays. All right. I think we've already belabored the citizens to be heard, unless there's somebody else that has a burning comment. And if not, on 12, requests for members of City Council to add items to future agendas. I know I have a list, but go ahead. Councilor Stevens.
Sorry if you have a list.
We already have 3 that we're carrying over. So.
Right. So I'd like to add an agenda item.
Well, y'all ready to go home? All right. It's 10:47. And if there's no objection, we move to adjourn. Y'all have a good evening. We'll see you on Saturday at the Candidates Forum. Thank you.
Hey, the other thing that I was thinking, and that I just didn't mention it because it might be delayed. I mentioned that building across the street to talk about whatever.
When I read the that was regular, but Mrs. Claus. I actually have a regular.
Bye-bye.